Okay, let me start. Thank you, everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Thank you for joining my meeting today. What I'm going to talk about is how to practice effectively. It's a guidance given by Linda Johnson. So let me begin. Linda Johnson talks about some of the reasons why, when we practice, we do not always get what we want, and we don't know why. There are a few things that maybe we haven't quite gotten yet. The first thing is we seem to have some misconception about the true cause of our suffering. There is no separation between myself and my environment. The reason we suffer is because we do not live this principle. It is at the core of this Buddhism, and if we are to actualize our full potential as a human being, we must get this concept by living it. The moment we get into difficulty with another human being, or another human being has hurt us, the most natural thing is to withdraw, to separate ourselves from that person, to protect ourselves from getting hurt. And then we look at the other person, we get angry, and we say, what's wrong with them? The bottom line comes down to, I'm suffering because you are not acting right. And so, in this view of everything is separate from ourselves, we decide we know how to not suffer anymore. We decide, I'm going to fix you. We go inside our heads and develop strategy about how to fix that person. We don't learn anything from that. And we engage the process all over and over again. It's like a pattern. We always follow this pattern and react in the same way. This is why the results are always the same. And then finally, we decide that I'm out of here. Either I go or you go. But even if we do that, the same movie, after a while, starts playing again in our life. To give you my example, I was kind of very unhappy when I was living in Hong Kong. So I wanted to get out of it. And then my whole family immigrated to Toronto, to Canada. But because my life condition hasn't changed, even when I went to Toronto, I was very unhappy. So much so, I was lost and I was depressed. So no matter where I go, if I haven't changed my life condition, it will be the same result. So this is why when I came to Australia, I know that it must not be like that. So I decided to be happy, no matter what. And then I started to enjoy Australia, the life, the ocean, the weather, the food, because I've changed. Let me go on. Nichiren Daishonin explains that the reason the same movie keeps playing over and over in our lives is because we have a misunderstanding about the true relationship between ourselves and our environment. And then we must come to realize that we are the screenwriters, the producers and the directors of our life. And we created every moment with our thoughts and our actions and the drama that plays out there. We wrote our life. We wrote our drama. And if you don't like it, then change the words that you write. And you change it from the inside first. Change your thought, word, and action. Linda Johnson had a very poor relationship with her boss. And she said, karma is whatever movie is playing in your life. And if she's going to change it, she better accept it as the true reality in her life that keeps getting played over. When she was able to see the common thread with this and other situations in her life where she tended to intimidate women who were above her position, she decided that she had to use this situation to change her karma once and for all, so that she no longer had to live her life restricted by it. So she started chanting that she would take responsibility to become the kind of woman that would open up and embrace other women's lives. And that was her responsibility. And pray that I will take responsibility to change this. I'm going to open my boss's life. I'm going to make her feel safe. Then, her relationship with her boss changed immediately. The point is, we must learn to live this concept. The moment we apply this concept to our lives, it is amazing how quickly things can change in our life. That is the one thing. We must get that concept. The second thing is that she tends to see that people bring other religions into Nichiren Daishonen's Buddhism. She sees way too often that we are sincerely praying for whatever we want in our lives. And then whenever the obstacle hits, people think, oh, what did I do wrong? I must have done something wrong. Or else why would this obstacle happen? Maybe I didn't pray sincerely enough. Or is it a sign that something is wrong with me? She wants us to banish these thoughts from our lives from now on. In Buddhism, obstacles are a sign that you are doing something right. She believes that whatever it is you are chanting for, when you get up from morning, gongyo, and go on about your day, she believes that the obstacles encountered that day are, in fact, the answer to your prayer. Meaning, every obstacle you encounter during the day is tailored to you and your prayer. It is your gift from the Gohonzon to show you precisely what it is you must no longer be swayed negatively or in order to create your prayer. For example, when an aeroplane takes off, it has got to overcome a lot of power and forces before it can take off. And the power and the obstacles that the plane encounters is precisely what the plane needed to take off. Nichiren Daishonin clearly says to us that the one thing that will always stand in the way of achieving our goals is us. He talks in the Gosho about us being like a lion, the king of beasts. He also says there is only one thing that can destroy the lion, and that is the parasite that lives in the bowels of the lion. In other words, she believes that prayers offered to the Gohonzon ought to be prayers of taking the responsibility to create what we are praying for. The process is always the same. The process is one of winning over our own negativity moment by moment. It is always us being swayed by that evil twin that resides inside of us and is always busy telling us all the things that you cannot do. It is always us being swayed by that. Therefore, making causes out of that with our thought, word, and deed, which perpetuates the same thing. We have to chant to empower our Buddha side so that we are stronger than our negative side or evil twin. Before Shakyamuni Buddha was enlightened, his evil twin came to haunt him and said, look, you're going to die. You are so skinny. You are so weak. You better give up or else you're going to die. For a split second, Shakyamuni Buddha was moved. But then he was much stronger than that. He said, thank you very much, and ignored the evil twin. And the minute he ignored the twin, he was enlightened. He was much stronger than the negative forces. With our separation eyes, viewing things as separate, we may look at things and say, reality is telling me that I can't have this. That is not Nichiren Buddhism. Reality is never telling you that you cannot have it. Reality always has a moment-to-moment, cause and effect relationship with you and your creation. Through word, thought, and actions. And she would suggest that if you think your environment is saying you cannot have it, it is merely reflecting the fact that you believe you can't have it. So ultimately, We have to use prayer to change lack of belief into belief. It is always about winning over ourselves. It doesn't mean that our negative twin will shut up. Instead, we need to make her our friend by looking at her as our test as to how we no longer be swayed. And the more we use it that way and respond that way, the more you are making new causes. Because the law of cause and effect is pure, as you continue to make new causes, you must produce new results. So my own experience is, sometimes things seem a bit difficult, all right? And we are not sure. It is precisely that moment we have to tell ourselves, no, we have the power. We can do it. And the minute you say you can do it, if you think you can, you can. Well, we are always searching for the answer. What do I do about this? Do I turn right? Do I turn left? Nichiren Daishonin says in the Gosho, stop looking for the answer outside of yourself. It only exists in one place, inside your own life. The answer that is correct for you only exists inside of you. And so one of the reasons is to chant is for you to be able to tap that wisdom inside our own life. Now, again, my own experience is, whenever we have a question as to where we want to go, what we should do, I would chant to the Gohonzon, what should I do? Talking to the Gohonzon is like you getting on Google. Google gives you some answers, but the Gohonzon is trillion times more powerful than Google. And the Gohonzon will give you very, very good answers that suit your needs. Well, I'll give you a recent experience. Yesterday, I always try to convert my audio into video to upload to YouTube. So yesterday, when I tried to do this, the app that I was always using, I think it has been hacked and I can no longer use it. So I spent hours searching on the internet to find if there are other apps that can help me upload audio into video and then to YouTube. And I thought I found one with the internet, and initially it looked pretty good. So I uploaded my audio to this to video using this app, and then I shared with everybody. But somebody told me, Lydia, your YouTube only lasts 2 minutes. I didn't realize that. And then later I found out, yes, this app only allows me to record 2 minutes of the audio. I didn't realize that. And then when I check into the app, it says that I have to pay $30, $40 per month to be able to extend my audio by 30 minutes or whatever. I said, what the heck? This is a rip-off. And there are other apps that said, okay, you can convert. And then whatever app I try, they're charging me a good lot of money, $40 per month or few $100 a year. So I honestly, it's a rip-off. If it is worth it, then I would do it, but I don't think it's worth it. So this morning, I chanted to the Gohonzon. I said, I want to find an app that can enable me to do so without being ripped off. So I decided to go on to Google Play and find an app. And there are several apps that might help me do it, and I'm testing. And I'm sure I can find something that can help me do it. So this is my way of using this Buddhism to help me in my life. Okay, let me go on. Another reason we chant is Nichiren Daishonin says, we are a Buddha. And he says the only difference between a Buddha and an ordinary human being is just the fact that the ordinary human being has not awakened to the fact that they are a Buddha. That is the distinction. I've always asked a lot of people, this is me talking now, do you believe that you're a Buddha? And they said no. They don't know that the Buddha. That's the main difference. Through that Gosho and many others, Nichiren is telling us that everything we need to confront any problem we will ever encounter, we already have the answers and the power inside of us. It's there. And you don't have to change anything about yourself first in order to tap it. You just have to chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo and tap into your wisdom. You must realize that inside your life is this inexhaustible supply of anything you need to confront any circumstances you will ever find yourself in. And you must start chanting out of that belief and conviction. You must start chanting to tap whatever you need when you need it. Meaning, if you are in a state of fear, you do not have to stay there and be a victim, unless you choose to. Just like the theory of the 10 worlds, because one condition or feeling or emotion is active, doesn't mean the other ones don't exist. They will always come out in response to the right cause. This is what the 10 worlds is all about. The right cause is always specific prayer, tapped by Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. So we must chant to call out of our life what we need, when we need it, to be able to win over any adversity, any circumstances we ever find ourselves in. Just like me, I'm trying to find an app to upload my audio, and I will be able to do it. I chanted and I asked the Gohansen, and I will be able to do it. Linda Johnson wants us to realize how incredibly powerful we are, and that we are creating this movie called Our Life every second. It's just something, sometimes we are controlling it from the negative side rather than the positive side. Realizing that when you understand everything has both potentials, then it means that all that's required is a slight attitude adjustment. Determined to plug into the positive side of it. That is, I can do it. So we never have to get rid of anything, even fear, even doubt, even insecurity. Because with our chanting, we do not encounter fear or doubt or insecurity anymore. Because we know whatever problem we come across, we'll be able to solve it. And not only solving it, we are in a better situation, better condition after solving it. It's just like children taking exams, final exams, and if they pass the exam, they go to a higher grade. It's just that simple. Everything has a positive function to it. Everything has a negative function to it. It isn't one or the other. Which function we produce is totally and directly related to the relationship we form with it. It is vital that we start taking responsibility for whatever we want in our life, including the quality of the relationships we want in our life. We have to start with, I must be committed to creating rather than spending my life reacting. Because reacting to where someone else is in a moment, from the strict point of cause and effect, means I'm reacting to an effect. The only way to change an effect is with a new cause. So I must become a casual-oriented human being who spends my life focusing on the creation of my dreams, rather than looking at life as something to which we merely react and respond. Well, there is a Western saying that dare to dream. When we respond to where everybody else is, we merely prolong the current situation. Another point. Nowhere in the Gosho does Nichiren Daishonin say, you will see yourself in the relationship with people around you. Buddhism is about giving. We give. And in giving, a lot of benefit comes back to us. But we give not because we want to get what we want. We give because we want to give. It's a benefit to be able to give. We can give something very simple as a smile. That will cheer people up. You know, whenever, this is me talking now, Whenever I see somebody good, I would immediately say, "You're very good." When I'm on the phone, somebody gives me a very good response, I say, "You are good." And the minute I say that, I could hear them laughing, smiling, saying, "You make my day." So the workers that helped me decorate my son's bathroom, I thank them every time. I said, "Thank you very much for your good work. I really appreciate it." And the carpenter, who was so good, after he finished work, last night I sent him a message saying, "You are very good. Your workmanship is excellent, and you are a very good person. I thank you, and I'm very happy." So this is what I always do, to encourage people and to show my appreciation. And in return, I form very, very good relationships with people I deal with. Let me go on. This applies in every relationship, even in the organization. There is a reason the lotus flower blooms in the muddiest of swamps. It is amid the realities of our suffering that we learn how to apply Nichiren Daishonen's Buddhism and take the responsibility to free ourselves and change the environment by standing up and taking the responsibility, rather than living our life as a victim, waiting for everyone else to get their act together. I remember in the me talking now, when I was running the dental practice, we were being harassed and pushed aside, and to the point that we had to close down. And I sought guidance from a member, and the moment he heard what I was saying, he said, "You feel that you're a victim?" And that woke me up. No, I wasn't a victim. All right, I was in this situation. I just have to deal with it. And I did, with my chanting and with my action. And as a result, our business got 10 times, 100 times better. Because I took responsibility. I did not feel that I'm a victim anymore. It is no coincidence that when you go back and reread the message given to the woman for the February commemorative meetings, Sensei talked about the century of woman. In that message, he says, "American Kozen Rufu will surely be a reality if you, my beloved mothers of American Kozen Rufu and Queens of Happiness, continue to build a network of humanism and cheerfully in harmonious unity based upon your strong prayer." He was telling us something about what to do to change the organization, to change our life. He spends a lot of time talking about the power of prayer in this message. Linda Johnson said, "Ichilin means to pray without a doubt. Whenever you pray without a doubt, all of your prayers will be answered. Buddhism equals actual proof. If you are not showing actual proof, you are not practicing Nichiren Buddhism correctly." Therefore, President Ikeda said, each one of us must use the power of Nam-myoho Renge Kyo to challenge our dreams, our hopes, everything we want to achieve in life, and we must win, W-I-N, because ultimately, people ought to be able to say this Buddhism is great because of you. Now it's me talking about it. When I first started to chant, the senior member who taught me chanting did say to me, she said, "Lydia, we have to win, because a lot of people are looking at us as an example. So we have to be able to encourage people with our own experiences, with our own proofs. So we have to win." This is what she said to me. Well, it's okay that doctors don't have a solution to your problem. But you do. You always have. You've got to start chanting out of that belief and conviction that you have the solution. And you've got to start chanting with that power to use Nam-myoho Renge Kyo to eradicate every bit of this painful arthritis out of your body. She thanked him and went home. Then she called back 15 days later to thank him because she was pain-free. Now, a lot of times, doctor will say, there's no cure. You only have a short time to live. Well, Doctors go according by the books. They don't know about the mystic law. They don't know about the power of our life. So, well, doctors are good in a way, but you don't have to believe 100%. When they say you have no cure, don't 100% believe in them, because there is always a cure. They just don't know. I've told everybody before that there was a guy who was in the final stage of terminal cancer. She was going to die, and then she said, what the heck, I'm going to spend my time enjoying myself. And she joined the 30-day round-the-world cruise. And during the cruise, he must have just enjoyed himself without worrying, because he thought he was going to die, so why he would not enjoy. And then after 30 days, because he gave up all his worries, all his bad thoughts, and he enjoyed his life, he was cancer-free. He was cured. That is how powerful our body is. Linda Johnson loves the experience because it reminds her of how we use our brain and our mind to perceive outside of ourselves. In various ways, all of us, every single, we use our brains and our mind to perceive outside of ourselves. In various ways, all of us, every single day of our lives, concede defeat. We judge what's possible and what's not possible. We think it's not possible or possible. Those things we decide are impossible. We never even bother to challenge with Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. How can you make the impossible possible if you don't go for it? Let me share you an example I must have talked a lot of times. At the very beginning of my practice, I know Nam Myoho Renge Kyo was very powerful, and I've got a friend whose family is in New York, and she spent a few years in Hong Kong, and then she decided to move back to US because she was not happy with her job. So I visited her one day and tried to say goodbye to her and congratulate her for deciding to return to her family. And at that time, she told me, she said, Lydia, I've got 1 month in Hong Kong before I go back to USA. But now, I think all my friends are in Hong Kong. I'm not sure whether I want to live, but I cannot find a good job. So I told her, I said, I want to share with you a chanting that might help you decide. If New York is the place for you, then some good news will come and you will want to fly back immediately. And if Hong Kong is the place for you, then before you go back, before you fly, a good job will come along. And she said, it's not possible. I've been looking for a job for several months and I couldn't find one. So I said, you think it's impossible because your own experience, your own knowledge is limited. But the Go Hansen's power, you cannot comprehend. Just trust. And I started chanting with her for 10 minutes. And she said she felt very good after that. And so I said, well, why don't you continue to chant? And then 6 days later, she called me and she said, Lydia, you would not believe it. Yesterday, I received an offer of a very good job. I was interviewed a month before. Now I have a job, I have a good job, and I do not need to go back to the States. And I think up to this stage, she's still in Hong Kong. She's very happy and she's got a good job. So please do not think that it is not possible. When we think it's not possible, it's because our mind so far is limited. Just trust the power of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo and trust the power and trust the power of the Go Hansen. Nichiren Daishonin says, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is like the roar of a lion. What sickness could possibly be an obstacle? But he warns us that the mighty sword of the Lotus Sutra will be useless in the hands of a coward. He constantly says, you are the Buddha. Everything you need to manifest your impossible dream in your life, every day of your life, you have always had. Wake up to it. Develop the courage to understand what the problems and obstacles you encounter in your life are precisely your gifts, showing you the things you must learn to win over. You must no longer be swayed negatively by this thing in order to have that which you want, and ultimately this is a process. This is a practice of ever expanding, uncovering your potential as a human being, which is unlimited. It is limitless. Well, let me share with you a recent experience with a member in Hong Kong. Well, it's a pity that she doesn't speak English and she's not in this meeting. Well, what I want to share with you her experience is she's got a 30-year-old son who's got a master or doctor degree from the UK, and he's back in Hong Kong, and he wanted to change jobs, and he wanted to work for the government. So he was interviewed a lot of times for various jobs, and finally he got an offer to work for the immigration department, but then he had to go for very strenuous training for 3 months. Now, this son had been raised in a greenhouse. I don't think he had ever suffered. He had ever had to work very, very hard because the mother was so protective. And then the mother always chanted that her son would change to be more passionate, to be more diligent, blah, 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 blah. And then the son has gone into the training school, but because the son had been raised in a greenhouse, he could not stand the strenuous exercise. He fainted and he hurt his knees, and he was being criticized by the instructor. So this lady called me, and she was very nervous and so forth. So I just said, you just have to chant and chant for your son. And miraculously, her son went through the first week or two, and then the son gave a presentation at the function, and the senior of a senior liked the presentation and gave compliment to the son. And so the instructor was very critical of the son, changed the attitude, and was very nice to the son. But then, yesterday, she texted me and said her son twisted her leg and nobody cared about him, and she felt very bad. She felt very nervous. 心痛, I don't know how you call it in English. So I said, come on, this is exactly what you chanted for. You chanted for your son to become a new person, to be more strong, to take responsibility, to be more passionate. And this is precisely what you are chanting for. He's now being trained for this. So why are you complaining? You should thank the Go Hansen for this. So I hope she is in this meeting, but I don't think she is. But I hope everybody will learn. Sometimes when you chant for something might seem bad which comes along. But this is precisely what you need to change, what you need to become better. So let me go on. Whatever happiness means to you, it ought to mean, at a minimum, a life that is no longer limited by restrictions. All the fears and all the doubt and all the insecurities in our lives that we refuse to deal with, that we run from, that we avoid, we have the power we empower it to get stronger. We empower it by repeating the same pattern over and again in our life, in thought, word, and actions. Those things we allow to take over in life become the prisons that we construct for our lives. We have to get out of the prison. Change our words, change our thoughts. No longer say, I cannot do it. Oh, I'm helpless. Never, never think this way. Stay connected to others and really take responsibility to change things, and you will be empowered. Take responsibility for the breakthrough and for everything in your life. See, when I encourage members, whenever I saw that they are doing well, they are doing better, I'm encouraged. I feel good too. Sensei calls it sustained engagement. If we truly understand that every human being equally possesses Buddha potential in their life, then even with the people our whole life wants to turn away and run away from, we sustain our encouragement until both of our lives have somehow been enriched by each other. Your ability to learn from another human being is independent of whatever you like them or not. Nothing is coincidence. I'm writing this script, and this person is in my life to teach me something. They are here to teach me how to be a better human being. And I better get on with that lesson, because until I learn the lesson, that person and people like them will continue to come into my life. Their whole function is to teach me this lesson. Benefit is the physical manifestation that you got the internal lesson. We must understand that there is nothing we cannot achieve with Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. There is no bigger problem than Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. When you pray, take the responsibility through your prayer that you will help another human being have a breakthrough. This is why SGI always emphasizes on Kosen Rufu, encouraging other people. Connect to your pain, connect to your suffering, in a sense of owning it and deciding that you will take the responsibility to change it. When you stay connected and take that kind of responsibility, because it is a choice that you make about how you want to live, you will be empowered. You will learn that only limitations that you ultimately have are the ones you put on yourself. Decide that you owe it to yourself to have the most wonderful life, a life in which you are able to enjoy everything to create undeniable joy and value, a life in which you take responsibility to create precisely the kind of life that you want for yourself. Just start to think, how do I want to live now? And how do I see myself in 5 years' time? Create that picture in your mind and try to achieve to be in that picture. And then we set the example for everything we want everyone else to be. President Ikeda says, rather than being swayed by others, you should sway others. Well, again, I tell you an example. I had problems with my family. I mean, not with my family. My family members always had problems before. And because of that, I was very sad, and I didn't know what to do, and I was not very happy. And then the senior member told me, she said, you must not be swayed by your family's problems. You should be strong enough to sway them. So I stood up, I learned, and I'm now helping all of them. And they are doing very well now. Okay, so this is what I have to share with you today.